The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to the floor and take seats. All members of this House will report to the floor and take seats. The clerk will ring the bell. All members will report to the floor and take seats. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. I hope everyone had a nice long weekend and ready to go to work today, and we've got a busy day today, so we're going to move rather quickly. We may even have to come back in session after the state of the judiciary, but before we have the chaplain, the chair wants to make mention, as we say in here all too frequently, it seems, that we are a family. And when one of us hurt, all of us do. And we just got word a short time ago that Kim Hatchett, Chairman Matt Hatchett's wife's father, passed this morning. So keep Kim and her family in your prayers. Chairman Hatchett. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 110th House District, Chairman Andy Welch. Chairman Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my privilege to introduce to you today a friend and an inspirational leader within our community of Henry County, Pastor T.J. McBride. He is the co-pastor of Tabernacle of Praise Church International, and his co-pastor is also his wife, Shanae McBride, and together they make a formidable team in terms of spiritual leadership. He has an astounding biography to read. I want to tell you just a few things about how he has touched me and has touched our community. Pastor McBride has preached unity within a community that needs to have a message of inclusion and a message of spiritual unity. He has led prayer walks in our community, simply asking the community from all faiths to walk together in prayer for a united community in Christ. He's also led his church to be one of the leading churches in terms of growth. Outreach Magazine in 2017 had named his church one of the fastest growing churches in Metro Atlanta. I think that his message is one that we can all enjoy today, but I think take home, and hopefully it will give us guidance as we legislate in the days ahead. Pastor McBride.
I'd like to say good morning to you and thank you for having me here. And we bring you greetings from Tabernacle of Praise Church in the great county of Henry County, city of McDonough, and we're glad to be here with you today. I have something I just want to just impart into your heart, to your mind, to your spirit before we pray, and that is that there is a blessing in serving. And I believe that in today's time, we've kind of lost that art of servanthood. When I was coming up in church, you had to serve everywhere. You had to do everything. And nowadays, I believe that sometimes we confuse serving with what it does for us instead of what we do for others. And so if you look in the scriptures, Mark 10, verse 45, Jesus says this: the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. And I'm thankful to be in this room with you all today because I believe that all of you all have a call to serve. You're serving your cities, you're serving your communities, you're serving your counties. And I believe that if we get back to servanthood, we would see some great results in our regions. I remember during the voting campaigns, I remember so many people coming to our church and they would say things like, I'm here to serve the community. I'm here to do for others. And so the question is, who are we serving? I want to give you 3 things that I believe that we can focus on as far as servanthood. Number 1, we are serving God. I know you're saying, Pastor, you must be confused because we're not in church this morning and doesn't look like this is a sanctuary, but I want you to understand that the Bible helps you to understand that you have been placed here in authority because God allowed us to be here. If you look in the Bible, Romans 13:1 says, all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. And so I really believe that God allowed you all to be in this room because he's counting on you to represent your cities and your counties with justice and with fairness. The Bible also helps us to understand in Proverbs 29:2 says, when the godly are in authority, the people will rejoice. So not only are you serving God, but number 2, you're serving your country. You're serving the nation because God allowed you to be here to represent those people that put you in this office. Another thing that I want to help you understand is that in Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah says the government shall rest on his shoulders, talking about the shoulders of Jesus Christ. And I just believe that if we adhere to the principles and teachings of Christ, I believe that our government will represent us well, resting on his shoulders. I remember one time I went to a concert and my son was small at the time and he was trying to see the stage, but he could not see the stage. And he kept pulling on me, Dad, I can't see the stage. And so what I did was I picked him up and I put him on my shoulders. And when I put him on my shoulders, he was able to see at a whole nother level. I just really believe that if we rest on Christ's shoulders, if we rest on the shoulders of Almighty God, I believe we all will be able to see at a whole nother level. And so not only are we serving God and we're serving our country, but the last thing I want to give you is that we are serving the very people that put us here. In Deuteronomy 1 talks about how during Moses' realm, how they had to appoint people from different tribes to represent the people. And it's very important that you all continue to remind yourself that you're not here because of your own interests, but you're here because of the people that you represent. It's very important that we stand for justice and we be fair in our judgments and we look after the poor and look after people that don't have a voice, understanding that we are now that voice for those that cannot be here. Just for Black History Month, I'm reminded of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where he said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so whenever we see injustice, we're going to stand and we're going to speak to that because we want to be people that bring us together. And so in closing, I want to remind you all that because you're in this position, God is counting on you. And God is counting on you to do one more thing. He's counting on you to pray. Last time I looked, prayer still works. When I was coming up in the old church, my grandmother used to say, son, prayer changes things. And I believe not only prayer changes things, but I believe prayer changes people. And I believe that if we keep praying, we're going to see some great things in our communities. If we keep praying, we're going to see our communities come back together. So what I want to encourage you to, don't stop praying. Don't stop praying. Keep praying until we see the poor get back up on their feet. Keep praying until we see our schools thriving again. Keep praying until we see our churches growing and leading again. Keep praying until we see families restored and our children inspired. Keep praying until we see the economy thriving again. Keep praying until we see poverty eradicated and our communities thriving. Keep praying until we see racism destroyed once and for all. Keep praying until we see our veterans and their families honored and well taken care of. Keep praying until we see our law enforcement and first responders honored and protected. Keep praying until we see all the people, regardless of race or gender, they have a voice in this room. And keep praying until we see justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. And with that in mind, let us all stand and let's honor the Lord as we pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you now because we need your strength. We need your wisdom. We need you to help us as we lead our cities, lead our communities, and lead our nation. Your word declares, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek your face, turn from our wicked ways, that we would hear from heaven, you will forgive our sins, and you would heal the land. And so we thank you for healing the land. We thank you that United States of America is healed. We thank you that our states are healed. We thank you that our communities are healed. Most of all, we thank you that we are healed. And we thank you, Lord God, that as we move forward throughout this day, we will make the right decisions so that our city can rejoice again. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Everyone say amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Darlene Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits have read the proceedings from the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on 59 moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 325 by Representative Clark on the 147th, Welch on the 110th, Powell the 32nd, Williams on the 168th, Ballinger the 23rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 3587.1 of the Official Code of Georgia and Territory relating the authority of a council to refuse certificate.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 326 by Representative Allen on the 40th. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 4286 of the Official Code of Georgia and Territory relating to special license plates.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 327 by Representative Trammell on the 132nd, Belton on the 112th, Holcomb on the 81st, Bonner on the 72nd. Bill being titled Act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 27 of the Official Code of Georgia and Territory relating to hunting licenses.
Game, Fish, and Parks.
House Bill 328 by Representative Mathiak of the 73rd, Powell of the 32nd, Bonner of the 72nd, Hawkins of the 27th, Green of the 151st, and others. Bill being titled Act to amend Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia and Territory relating to health.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 329 by Representative Metz of the 55th, Bazemore of the 63rd. Bill be titled an act to authorize the city of South Fulton to exercise all redevelopment.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 330 by Representative Williams, the 145th, Powell of the 32nd, Hawkins the 27th, Newton of the 123rd, Mathiak the 73rd. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 7, Title 14, and Chapter 35 of Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to professional corporations.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 331 by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd, Rich the 97th, Gaines the 117th, Taylor the 173rd, Smith the 134th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 13, Title 19 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to granting of relief by superior courts.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 332 by Representative Meeks, the 178th, McCall the 33rd, England the 116th, Watson the 172nd, Bentley the 139th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 8 of Title 2, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to agricultural commodity.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 333 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, Houston the 170th, England the 116th, Watson the 172nd, Perkle the 155th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the imposition rate computation and exemptions from state income taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 334 by Representative Knight of the 130th, Collins of the 68th, Green of the 151st, Williams of the 148th, Hogan of the 179th. Bill be entitled an act to amend Title 15, Chapter 2 of Title 21 and Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to courts.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 335 by Representative Williams, 168, Jackson, the 128, Jaspers, the 11th, Stevens, the 164th, Bernal, the 77th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 5C of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to alternative ad valorem taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 336 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, Belton, the 112th, Dickey of the 140th, Clark of the 147th, Bentley of the 139th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 7, Chapter 3, Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to retirement allowances.
Retirement.
House Bill 337 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, Powell of the 32nd, Jones of the 25th, Harold of the 106th, Douglas the 78th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to motor vehicles and traffic.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 338 by Representative Gravely of the 67th, Ridley of the 6th, Collins of the 68th, Hitchens of the 161st, and Williams of the 148th. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 25.4.3 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Georgia firefighter standards and training.
Public
Council.
Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 339 by Representative McLean of the 100th, Bentley of the 139th, Smyrie of the 135th, Bruce of the 61st, and Clanton of the 75th. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 4286, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to special license plates.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 340 by Representative Gravely, the 67th, Burns, the 159th, Welch, and the 110th, Gaines, the 117th, Weedower, the 119th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 6 of Title 17, the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding bonds.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 341 by Representative Dollar, the 45th, Frye, the 118th, Stevens, the 164th, Hawkins, the 27th, Werkheiser, the 157th. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 16860, the Official Code of Georgia annotated, related to reproduction of recorded material.
Working Group on Creative Arts and Entertainment with recommendations to Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 342 by Representative Dollar, the 45th part of the 130th, Momtahan on the 17th, Perkle the 155th, Douglas the 78th. The bill being titled an act to amend Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to motor vehicles and traffic.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 343 by Representative Dollar, the 45th, Frye the 118th, Stevens the 164th, Watson, the 172nd, Hawkins, the 27th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, and Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia and relating to the imposition, rate computation, and exemptions from state income tax.
Working Group on Creative Arts and Entertainment with recommendations to Ways and Means.
House Bill 344 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, Hatchett of the 150th, Silcox of the 52nd, Dollar of the 45th, Trier of the 59th, and others. A bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to sales and use taxes.
Working Group on Creative Arts and Entertainment with recommendations to Ways and Means.
House Bill 345 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, Silcox of the 52nd, Nulowitz of the 42nd, Richard of the 97th, Harrell of the 106th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 1 of Title 42 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to inmate policies.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 346 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, Gaines of the 117th, Jones of the 47th, Silcox of the 52nd. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7, Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to landlord and tenant generally.
Judiciary.
House Bill 347 by Representative Bonner of the 72nd, Kelly the 16th, Stevens the 164th, Hatchett of the 150th, Gravely the 67th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the imposition, rate computation, and exemptions from state income tax.
Working Group for Creative Arts and Entertainment with recommendations to Ways and Means.
House Bill 348 by Representative Martin of the 49th. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 20 of Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to leaves of absences.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 349 by Representative Martin of the 49th. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 3644.3 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to definitions regarding redevelopment powers.
Governmental Affairs.
House Resolution 238 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 239 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, a resolution designating the Savannah Logistics Technology Innovation Corridor.
Special Rules.
House Resolution 256 by Representative Carpenter of the 4th, Smith of the 134th, Houston of the 170th, Blackman of the 146th, Hatchett of the 150th, and others. Resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution.
Judiciary.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 304 by Representative Rhodes of the 120th and Williams of the 145th, a bill to amend an act providing a magistrate court of Putnam County. House Bill 305 by Representative Burns of the 159th, a bill to authorize the governing authority of the city of Sylvania to levy an excise tax. House Bill 306 by Representative Burns of the 159th, a bill to amend an act creating the Screven County Industrial Development Authority. House Bill 307 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, Ridley of the 6th, Corbett of the 174th, and Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to magistrate courts. House Bill 308 by Representative Ridley of the 6th, Powell of the 32nd, Tarvin of the 2nd, a bill relating to inspection of public records. House Bill 309 by Representative Kennard of the 102nd, Dreyer of the 59th, Kendrick of the 93rd, Fry of the 118th, and McLeod of the 105th, a bill relating to review of individual criminal history, record information, definitions, privacy considerations, written application, requesting review and inspection. House Bill 310 by Representative Morse of the 156th, a bill relating to insurance coverage for autism. House Bill 311 by Representative Welch of the 110th, Powell of the 171st, Abstration of the 104th, McLaurin of the 51st, Oliver of the 82nd, a bill relating to waiver of sovereign immunity. House Bill 312 by Representative Morris of the 26th, Belton of the 112th, Clark of the 98th, Hitchens of the 161st, Prince of the 127th, and others, a bill relating to alternative ad valorem tax on motor vehicles. House Bill 313 by Representative Fry of the 118th, Knight of the 130th, Smyrie of the 135th, Martin of the 49th, Pruitt of the 149th, and others, a bill relating to property tax exemptions. House Bill 314 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Hawkins of the 27th, Morris of the 26th, Barr of the 103rd, Tanner of the 9th, and others, a bill relating to registration, operation, and sale of watercraft. House Bill 315 by Representative Newton of the 123rd, Reinders of the 152nd, Burns of the 159th, Jones of the 47th, Hatchett of the 150th, a bill relating to general provisions applicable to counties, municipal corporations, other governmental entities. House Bill 316 by Representative Fleming of the 121st, Jones of the 47th, Burns of the 159th, Reinders of the 152nd, Watson of the 172nd, and others, a bill relating to primaries and elections. House Bill 317 by Representative Hill of the 3rd, Dempsey of the 13th, Montana of the 17th, Kelly of the 16th, Tanner of the 9th, and others, a bill relating to requirement for orderly, clean, and sanitary receptacles, notice and penalty for violations. House Bill 318 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, Collins of the 68th, and Alexander of the 66th, a bill relating to general provisions regarding the Juvenile Code. House Bill 319 by Representative Williams of the 148th, Hogan of the 179th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Belton of the 112th, Gravely of the 67th, and others, a bill relating to retirement allowances, disability benefits, and death benefits relative to the Georgia Firefighters Pension Fund. House Bill 320 by Representative Belton of the 112th, Blackman of the 146th, Green of the 151st, Wilkerson of the 38th, Buckner of the 137th, and others, a bill relating to retirement allowances, disability benefits, and spousal benefits. House Bill 321 by Representative Lott of the 122nd, Reeves of the 34th, Rogers of the 10th, Powell of the 171st, Lerecki of the 169th, a bill relating to the hospital Medicaid financing program. House Bill 322 by Representative McCall of the 33rd, Powell of the 32nd, Fleming of the 121st, Gravely of the 67th, Trammell of the 132nd, bill relating to local government. House Bill 323 by Representative Knight of the 130th, Cooper of the 43rd, Hawkins of the 27th, Powell of the 32nd, Hatchett of the 150th, and others, bill relating to regulation and licensure of pharmacy benefits managers. House Bill 324 by Representative Gravely of the 67th, Newton of the 123rd, Powell of the 32nd, Smiley of the 135th, Clark of the 98th, and others, a bill relating to offenses against public health and morals. House Resolution 328 by Representative Glanton of the 75th, Trammell of the 132nd, Beverly of the 143rd, Smiley of the 135th, Bennett of the 94th, and others. Resolution urging the President of the United States and the United States Congress to enact legislation securing the citizenship of internationally adopted adult individuals. House Resolution 229 by Representative Schofield of the 60th, Cannon of the 58th, Beasley Teague of the 65th, Dreyer of the 59th. Resolution honoring the life of Honorable Grace Wilkerson Davis, dedicating a bridge in her memory. Senate Bill 6 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Alberts of the 56th, Kirk of the 13th, Robertson of the 20th, Payne of the 54th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions regarding correctional institutions of the state and counties. Senate Bill 52 by Senator Ligon Jr. of the 3rd and Stone of the 23rd. Bill to amend the official code of Georgia annotated in furtherance of the work of the Code Revision Commission. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Representative Abstration, the 104th District Chairman of Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Judiciary Non-Civils had in consideration the following bills of the House. Instructed me to report same back to the House following recommendations. House Bill 246 do pass. House Bill 258 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Abstration, the 104th District Chairman. Representative Corbett of the 174th District Chairman of the Committee on Motor Vehicles submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Motor Vehicles has had under consideration the following bills to the House. Instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 56 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 66 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 131 do pass. House Bill 225 do pass. House Bill 226 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Corbett of the 174th District Chairman. That completes the reading of the standing committees.
This House will be in order. We're trying to get in as much of our work as we can before the State of the Judiciary, and I'm seeing black robes out in the anteroom. I'm going to ask you to please take your seats. We've got a special guest we want to recognize at this time for some very, very, very brief remarks. I stopped after 3 varies, okay? I'm honored today to have here in the chamber of the House a former member of this body. And whoever says you can't get a great start on the Judiciary Non-Civil Committee don't know what they're talking about. My congressman, Doug Collins, started out in this House as a great member and even better friend, was a member of the Judiciary Non-Civil Committee, and today he is the ranking member of the U.S. House Judiciary Committee in Washington, where they could use some of that wisdom that the chairman at that time used to hand out freely. So please help me make welcome back to this House Congressman Doug Collins from Gainesville.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always good to be back. I think the speaker and all his influence forgot that I was still on the working side of Washington. That's the House, not the Senate, but we're not going to filibuster today. But it's good to be back here. It's good to see friends. As I saw just a few minutes ago, being able to see what you're doing here and knowing that the work is continuing makes me take home. And when I can go to Washington, D.C. and say, look at Georgia as an example, that's always a great thing. And for my new role as ranking member of the Judiciary Committee and everything we've got going on, yes, there is some wisdom to be gained by a certain judiciary non-civil chairman who used to sit down and, as my mom used to say, every once in a while poke his head up like a bear underneath the thing to talk to somebody else. But it's good to be here today. Continue the hard work. I'm glad to be a part of this, and it's good to see old friends. God bless you and have a great day.
The House will continue to be in order. House will continue to be in order. The chair recognizes Representative Matt Wilson to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dr. Mike Bush is the Surgical Director of Sports Medicine at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. He became one of the first orthopedic surgeons in the country with an expertise in pediatric sports medicine, and he founded the sports medicine program at Children's Hospital right here in Atlanta. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the Doctor of the Day, Dr. Mike Bush.
Well, it's an honor to be here. I came to Atlanta in 1985. I've been here ever since. I've had the pleasure of training many of the orthopedic surgeons that practice here in Georgia. I'm now president of the Georgia Orthopedic Society. Thank you. Any of you that are under 21, please come down and see me.
Thank you. All right, all members will take their seats. We are going to begin morning orders, and we may not finish them until after our joint session, but we're going to begin morning orders today, given the number of groups that we have, and the joint session will be limited to 1 minute each. Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Valencia Stovall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. The group has not gotten into the gallery yet, but would y'all please help me to welcome Northcutt Elementary School from Clayton County. It's their social studies class who are visiting here with us today. But they haven't gotten here, but we'll clap for them anyway. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Hutchinson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in Black History, I would like to recognize 4 people: George and May Dorsey and Roger and Dorothy Malcolm, the victims of the infamous Mord Ford lynchings. On July 25th, 1946, the 2 married Black couples were lynched near the Mord Ford Bridge in Walton County, in what has been called the last mass lynching in America. Mr. Dorsey was a World War II veteran who had served in the Pacific for 5 years and had been home for only 9 months at the time of his death. Roger Malcolm's wife, Dorothy, was 7 months pregnant at the time of her murder. Despite years of investigation, grand juries, and extensive media coverage, none of the reported 15 to 20 men who took part in the lynchings were brought to justice. Prosecution has been hampered by what many historians describe by simply lack of cooperation. In 1999, Georgia's Historical Society and Mord's Forge Memorial Committee erected a historical marker at the site of the lynching. Since 2005, the lynchings are memorialized at Mord's Forge Bridge every July in a living tribute to the victims. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Burnell for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. Today, I rise to welcome Clayton County Chamber of Commerce to the Chamber. Our Vice President of Clayton County Commissioners, Felicia Warner, is here with us. Superintendent Dr. Maurice Beasley, Clayton County Board Chair Jesse Goree, and the 2019 Leadership Clayton class, and our business leaders. And if they would stand up, they're over here on this side of the chamber. And if you all would welcome them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Chairman Randy Nix for a morning order. Chair recognizes Representative Nelson and the Augusta delegation for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. On Friday, our moment in Black History was done on Sister Edna Bush, one of our constituents from Augusta, who was 108 years. Well, on Saturday, she went on to be with her Lord and Savior. We ask you to stand with us for a moment of silence to honor Mrs. Bush. Thank you. We yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representatives Williams, Chairman Dickey, Chairman Blackman, Chairman Clark, and Representative Mathis for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are really excited and would ask if you would help us welcome a leadership group from Perry Area Chamber of Commerce and the City of Perry with us here in the gallery. Thank you all for being here. If y'all would rise and let us welcome you to the People's House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Sandra Scott for a morning order.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, we recognize female veterans across Georgia here at the Capitol today. With all the female veterans, if you're in here, would you please stand? Thank you for your service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
While we're waiting on the Senate to arrive, I will announce to the members of this body that after the joint session is dissolved, we will immediately come back into session as we have a rules calendar, and we're going to do the rules calendar today. So ask House members to stay somewhat at order and be prepared to go back to work. all members of the House will please take seats. All members of the House, please return to your seats now. I'm going to ask any guest on the floor if they would maybe find other seating upstairs or somewhere, because we tend to get a little full on the days of the joint session. All members, please take your seats. Madam Doorkeeper.
Speaker, the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate await entrance to the House chamber.
Madam Doorkeeper, please allow the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate to enter the House chamber, and the messenger will escort them to their designated seats. Okay, it got a little noisy when the Senate came in, but we're awfully happy to have you all with us. I want to ask members to please take your seats. Madam Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the justices of the Supreme Court and the judges of the Court of Appeal await entrance to the House chamber.
Madam Doorkeeper, please allow the justices of the Supreme Court and the judges of the Court of Appeals access to the House chamber, and the messenger will escort them to their designated seats. Members of the House and the Senate, members of the House and the Senate, this joint session of the Georgia General Assembly will now come to order. Chair will ask the clerk to read a resolution.
House Resolution 97 by Representative Burns, the 159th. A resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purposes of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, inviting each other justices of the Supreme Court and each judge of the Court of Appeals to be present at the joint session and for other purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Before I introduce our guest up here on the podium, I want to make some other introductions, beginning with my good friend and colleague and partner across the hall and a former member of this body. He gets to hear that a lot, I know. But please make welcome the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan. A dear friend from Hall County, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, Senator Butch Miller. The best partner in crime that a speaker can have is a good Speaker Pro Tem. I've got the best. Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones. The judges of the Court of Appeals of Georgia. The justices of the Supreme Court of Georgia. Members may be seated. We are very honored today to receive the State of the Judiciary from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia, Harold D. Melton. Chief Justice Melton was appointed to the Georgia Supreme Court by Governor Sonny Perdue in 2005, and it was sworn in as Chief Justice in 2018. Prior to joining the court, he served as executive counsel to Governor Perdue, representing the governor on a number of legal issues covering the entire scope of state government. Chief Justice Melton received his bachelor's degree from Auburn University, and then in an effort to correct the error of his ways, got his law degree from the University of Georgia. He's a native of Washington, D.C. He grew up in East Point, Georgia, and Marietta, and currently resides in Atlanta with his wife and their 3 children. He's a great friend and a great jurist. Please make welcome to this chamber, to this joint session, the Chief Justice of Georgia's Supreme Court, Harold Melton.
Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. I was tempted to pound this gavel. Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Speaker Ralston, President Pro Tem Miller, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, members of the General Assembly, constitutional officers, members of the judiciary, my friends and colleagues on the Supreme Court, my good friends on the Court of Appeals, my fellow Georgians. 30 years ago, I made a great friend. I was a first-year law student at the University of Georgia. P. Harris Hines was a county superior court judge in Cobb County. He invited me to work for him as a summer intern. He was a great lawyer, a great judge, and a great public servant. But most of all, he was a great man. Because of the love and kindness he extended so freely to others, the late Chief Justice Hines was loved and cherished by every member of our court, our staff, and just about every person who met him. I am humbled now as a new Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia to serve as the next chief following my election by my colleagues and Chief Justice Hines' retirement last August. I'm honored and grateful to be here today to deliver the annual State of the Judiciary address. This great tradition is an opportunity to report to you on the accomplishments of the judicial branch and the challenges that lie ahead. 2019 is a year of new beginnings. We have a new governor heading up the executive branch, a new lieutenant governor presiding over the Senate. We have 49 new legislators, a new Secretary of State, a new insurance commissioner, and roughly 100 new judges around the state. Within the last 2 years, 5 of our 9 justices have joined Georgia's Supreme Court, which has recently grown, moving from 7 to 9 justices. The experience of the Court of Appeals is similar. It recently grew from 12 to 15 judges, and 6 of its 15 judges have taken office just within the last year. This new crop of jurists is a younger bunch. I remember when I first joined the Supreme Court in 2005, conversations among my colleagues revolved around Medicaid Part D and blood thinners. Today, our conversations revolve around player pitch baseball and swim meets. However, all of us are grateful for those who came before us and the opportunity to build on their successes. And I am confident that just as those we succeed work together for Georgia, we too, in all 3 branches, will continue to forge strong relationships to best serve our citizens. Largely due to the relationships we have had with you in the legislature and with the governor, I am pleased to report to you that today the state of Georgia's judiciary is sturdy, stable, and strong. We are poised to meet the inevitable changes that lie ahead. First, let me say to you, thank you. Thank you for your support of the judiciary. In recent years, you have helped revolutionize our criminal justice system by making our state a national model with criminal justice reform. Through these efforts, we've made our state safer with reduced recidivism rates, saved taxpayer dollars with reduced prison populations, and made our community stronger by giving nonviolent offenders the chance to turn their lives around and become more law-abiding and more productive family members and members of the community. President Trump, in his State of the Union address, recently spoke of the federal initiative towards criminal justice reform and proudly noted that the states are following the federal government's lead. That may be true, but the federal government is following Georgia's lead. Thank you. I want to personally thank my friend and colleague, Justice Michael Boggs, for his state and national leadership in this area. You have approved and funded the new judicial building, the first state building in Georgia dedicated solely to the judiciary. Currently, the state Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, the Office of Reporter of Decisions, and the Office of Bar Admissions are due to move into the new building this November or December. This time next year, we and the Court of Appeals plan to have you over as our guests so you can walk around and see what you have invested in. We do not take this building for granted. The building looks slightly upward towards the Capitol, giving the legislature the appropriate presumption of righteousness that it deserves. But at the same time, it looks squarely at the Capitol in readiness to do our jobs. This building reflects what the citizens of this great state expect the justices and judges to accomplish each day when we come to work. It is built to be strong, enduring, attentive to detail. It reflects the dignity and majesty of the rule of law that we are called upon to uphold on a daily basis. As I recently assured the Joint Appropriations Committee, we intend to come well within the appropriated budget for furniture and fixtures, taking all the existing furniture that is suitable and sturdy and which matches the dignity of our new surroundings. We will make sure that the furnishings in the new building are appropriately stately, but not extravagant. You have appropriately scrutinized and supported the vast majority of the budget and legislative requests submitted by our partners within the judiciary over the past few years. From the various classes of courts, the numerous commissions, boards, and committees. For your positive engagement of all this, we collectively say thank you. We also have our forefathers to thank for their brilliance in creating the three branches of government. As a practical matter, most of our ordinary citizens have little understanding of what we in the judiciary actually do. Even though the judicial branch, more than the other two, is more likely to be the subject of television shows and movies, the role we play is more likely to be shrouded in mystery. As judges, we take an oath to uphold the rule of law, to apply the law fairly and squarely to all who come before us, regardless of their status or socioeconomic background. Toward that end, the independence of the judiciary is a gift to and from the American people. John Adams, before becoming the nation's second president, famously said that we are a nation of laws, not of men. We apply the rule of law regardless of whether it pleases the majority of citizens or favors the unpopular. And yet throughout our nation's history, we have struggled to uphold and live up to this ideal. The recently popularized story of Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr shows how far we have come. Remember, in the early 1800s, Alexander Hamilton was a prominent lawyer. He signed the Constitution of the United States. He was the first Secretary of the Treasury. Aaron Burr was a sitting vice president under Thomas Jefferson and a former Attorney General of New York. These were two of the nation's most visible and prominent citizens. As President Thomas Jefferson prepared to run for re-election, it became clear that he was going to drop Aaron Burr from the ticket. Apparently, by all accounts, Aaron Burr was not a very likable sort. Burr therefore decided to run for governor in New York. Hamilton chose to run against him. There had existed long-standing tensions between the two, and reports began to circulate that Hamilton had made disparaging comments about Burr's character at a dinner. Things got even worse. Burr demanded an apology. Hamilton refused. Burr challenged Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton accepted. Dueling was illegal in New York, so they crossed over the river into New Jersey. Hamilton fired first. He missed. Burr fired second, striking Hamilton in the abdomen. Hamilton died the next day. Politics used to be rough. Both New York and New Jersey brought charges against Aaron Burr. Burr fled to South Carolina. He later returned to Washington, D.C., and despite charges pending against him in those two states, he completed his term as vice president. He never stood for trial on those charges in either state. There are other examples in our history where our adherence to the rule of law has fallen short. But fortunately, we have come a long way. We have been on a long but steady journey towards adherence and fidelity to the law, so that now we are at a place where we as judges and you as lawmakers are expected to pay our traffic tickets just like everyone else. Upholding the rule of law is hard work. It takes vision, courage, intelligence, patience, and independence. It takes discipline. I'm grateful to all our state's judges who are working daily trying to get it right. Many of them are here today. Would all of our state's judges and justices please stand so that we can thank you for your service. I thank you for being here. And while you're in a standing mood, I hope you will do me a personal favor of honoring my lovely and beautiful wife, Kimberly, who's up in the balcony. Thank you. I owe you one. In every generation, we are called upon the rule of law to be a beacon of light, the guidance and assurance of justice and equality. Our present time is no exception, and I am pleased to tell you that we are answering the call. You should each have at your desk a flyer placed on your seat. It is a comprehensive snapshot of our state's judicial system. Included on it, you'll see statistics about the state's accountability courts, what some call specialty courts or problem-solving courts. I will not rehash the numbers that underscore these courts' success, but I will touch upon some lessons we have learned from our experience in this area. The fact is that by the time people come into our drug courts, mental health courts, or other specialty courts, they are often at the end of their behavioral timeline. That is because we, the courts, are the end game. Courts only engage once the problem has come to a head and criminal laws have been broken, usually after years and years of bad behavior and experiences. And yet we have enjoyed a tremendous success, largely because we try to get to the root cause of the problem to stifle criminal behavior at its source. If these courts work at all, it is because we treat the whole person with the hope of future redemption. That is what the rule of law does. It treats every person as an individual. Our specialty courts work because judges and the many dedicated social workers and volunteers working with them take the time to understand the struggles and backgrounds and the individual stories behind the people before them. They form relationships. They build a level of intimacy. Justice Hines always said, "You never know what someone is struggling with, but everyone is struggling with something." So here's the next logical question. If the courts are able to have this kind of success with a population of adults who often have had a lifetime of struggles and bad behavior, can we not have even greater success if we in our communities engage even earlier? Can we accomplish more if we engage earlier in the timeline? We know the paths that people take. You'll see on your flyer the extraordinary number of Georgia's children in foster care. Each child in foster care involves multiple filings in our juvenile courts. We know the challenges these children face put them at a higher risk of getting into trouble, dropping out of school, having babies in their teens, and ultimately coming into our court system. Keeping children with their families and out of foster care is important, and the judicial branch supports reinforcing family ties. Kinship Care is a program that helps do that. It provides legal services to grandparents, relatives, even family friends who are serving as guardians to the children who otherwise might be placed into foster care. Kinship Care works to give these guardians the legal authority they need to make medical decisions, financial decisions, and school decisions for the children. In the Judicial Council's budget request submitted before you, you will have an opportunity to support this effort. I believe the solutions to many of our social ills lie in our communities. The challenge for all of us is to have conversations in our communities, to peel back the layers of the problems that exist in our own backyard, but not just to focus on the problems, but then to venture towards potential solutions, and then take action, recognizing that the relationships and intimacy are at the core of the solutions. These conversations will be different in each community. In Cobb County, where I grew up and went to high school, District Attorney, now GBI Director Vic Reynolds, and other community leaders recognized that they had a growing problem with gangs. In response, Judge Wayne Granis of the Cobb Juvenile Court, a former prosecutor, created a new specialty court that targeted high-risk youth and first-time gang offenders. The goal is to steer them away from gangs and into counseling service and life skill resources that are available both to the youth and to their families. But even here, the courts are dealing with kids after they get into trouble. But must we wait until youth and adults are engaged in high-end criminal activity when we know precisely the path they are on and we have the tools to intervene and steer them in another direction? We in the judiciary can and will continue to deal with people on the back end, but we'd love to see our numbers decrease and reduce by members of the community dealing with individuals on the front end. How do we do that? I want to tell you about a program that exemplifies what I'm talking about. Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation, led by Executive Director Marty Ellen and Deputy Director Michael Lucas, has created a program called Standing with Our Neighbors. They got involved with the neighborhood of Thomasville Heights in the elementary school there, Thomasville Heights Elementary. Thomasville Heights Elementary was one of the lowest performing schools in the entire state. When they peeled back the layers, they learned that the average tenure of a student at the school was 1.5 years. The Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation brought in two lawyers, and the lawyers developed relationships with the children and the parents at the school. And I want to show you on the video what happened next.
When students change schools, they're more likely to be less engaged. That could lower their grades and increase the risk they will drop out of high school.
There's been a turnaround here. Turnover is down, attendance and test scores are both up. Thomasville Heights Elementary has at times been the worst performing elementary school in all of Georgia and one of its poorest.
I have students, that have been in 4 or 5 schools.
We thought we had a solution. Michael Lucas helps lead the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation. He traced the Thomasville Heights turnover problem right across the street. 95% of the school's students live here. A combination of wrongful evictions or deplorable conditions that never seem to get fixed. The solution? Embed a tenant rights lawyer inside the school's front office.
These folks are coming to you with issues that are violations of the law.
Yes.
And they need a lawyer.
Yes.
And they can't afford one.
Yes. And these tenants don't just have me, they have lawyers from the top law firms in Atlanta.
They took on over 80 cases involving conflicts with a complex management.
I've had tenants cry in court because they knew they had a story and they knew they had a right, but they didn't think they would be able to articulate it and win.
Student turnover here dropped from 40% to 25%. In the first year of the program, standardized test scores went up 50%. No one's calling it a miracle turnaround, but it's a solid start.
And there's more. In the context of the relationships that they formed, they learned of asthma resulting from mold and mildew and the need for air filtration units in the apartments to further cut down on absenteeism. They learned of incidents of domestic violence that otherwise would have gone unaddressed. By dealing with these issues, how many criminal cases have been prevented? How many instances of illiteracy have been avoided? How have they impacted future dropout rates, teenage pregnancy rates, infant mortality rates, drug addictions, and any other negative statistics that concern us? And how many lives have been redirected toward becoming strong mothers and fathers and leaders in the community? I hope you will join me in honoring Marty Ellen, Michael Lucas, and the soldiers of AVLF. I mentioned to you that the judiciary is poised for the inevitable changes that we face in the future. You'll see on your flyer the large number of Georgians who cannot afford a lawyer and are representing themselves in court, often putting themselves at a disadvantage and threatening their access to justice. One of the most profound changes now evolving in our courts is the use of technology. For those without lawyers, court procedures and processes are complex and the language confounding. Technology can cut through and simplify that process, not to mention speed it up. Already around the state, our judges are using such tools as chatbots and online forms to improve access. The Council of Magistrate Court Judges, led by Pierce County's Chief Magistrate Judge Glenda Dowling, has developed an online forms generator called The Wizard, which guides self-represented litigants through the process of filling out civil pleadings. Virtually every possible civil pleading needed in magistrate court can be generated through this tool, including foreclosures, garnishments, and dispossessories. Judge Chase Daughtry of the Cook County Probate Court has set up a chatbot on its website that is available 24/7 to handle basic court questions and look up citation information. They have also set up a reminder service that automatically sends 3 text reminders to people before their court date. Young people respond to texts more than they do postal mail. Chief Judge John Simpson of the Coweta Judicial Circuit uses technology to expedite judges' responses to emergency requests from victims of domestic violence. As a result, these victims now receive almost immediate assurance of safety and peace of mind. For more than 10 years, I have chaired the Judicial Council's Technology Committee. Today, I am pleased to inform you that thanks to your support, last year we have made tremendous progress and now have a portal, a gateway, that provides comprehensive access to Georgia's entire judicial system. If you do a Google search and type in Georgia courts, the first hit will be our new gateway. The entire website can be translated into over 100 languages. This is the gateway where users will go to e-file and access court documents anywhere in the state. And this is where users can go and even find a link to reinstate your driver's license. We thank you for your continued support in developing and maintaining this project. Additionally, in response to Senate Bill 407 that you passed last year, by the end of next month, all superior and state courts will have electronic filing up and running. Litigants can now file legal documents electronically all over the state. We have caught up with Alabama. Simultaneously, the state is making great strides with something called Criminal Justice Exchange Project. Led by the executive branch, this electronic data system gives us a smart new way of sharing documents and information about criminal cases from the moment of arrest on towards prosecution and ultimately to the point of incarceration and probation and parole. These files are shared almost instantaneously among databases maintained by the district attorneys, public defenders, court clerks, sheriffs, and the Georgia Department of Corrections and the Department of Community Supervision. The efficient flow of complete, accurate, and up-to-date case information improves outcomes at every step in the process. Currently, there are pilots operating in 4 counties, Bartow, Dawson, Forsyth, and Gordon, with planned rollouts across the entire state within the next 2 years. There are other strides we've made through the use of technology, but I believe we are only at the cusp of the technological change that will transform our courts in the coming years. Finally, based on your recommendation last November, our citizens approved a constitutional amendment authorizing the creation of a statewide business court. Business courts have found success in some of our sister states and already have been implemented in some of our superior courts. These courts are designed to bring expertise to commercial litigation. As the effort to develop these courts advances, we stand ready to serve as a resource to you as you strive to further create a healthy climate for commerce. 1 year ago, it was our then Chief Justice Hines who stood before you delivering this annual State of the Judiciary address. Those of you who are here may recall that at the end of his speech, he paid tribute to his beloved wife, Miss Helen Hines, calling her his springtime at the Masters. What he did not tell you was that he himself was a horrible golfer. His sudden death this past November, only 2 months after his retirement, after 40 years as a judge, has left a hole in many hearts, including my own. Last month, the University of Georgia School of Law announced that it was establishing the Be Kind Fund in memory of Chief Justice Hines to aid law students through internship opportunities and scholarships. Kindness was his legacy. There's a lot that can be said about all of us as we look back over our careers, but what more can be said about a person who loves and is kind and who recognizes the struggles of his or her neighbors and treats the whole person with dignity and with respect? That is my prayer for all of us, that we would be remembered for our goodness and kindness. Thank you, and may God bless the great state of Georgia.
Doorkeeper will please escort the justices of the Supreme Court and the judges of the Court of Appeals from the chamber of the House. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the Georgia House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this joint session now be dissolved.
The Majority Leader has moved that the joint session of the General Assembly be dissolved. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. And this joint session is hereby dissolved. Madam Doorkeeper. Madam Doorkeeper, will you please escort the Lieutenant Governor, the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate from the House chamber? Members of the House will remain with us. That can be thrown away. House will come to order. We have two more morning orders. We have 3 invite resolutions, and we have a rules calendar. Chair recognizes the chair of the House Ethics Committee, Chairman Nix, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to recognize a group of young people from LaGrange that are here. The LaGrange Youth Council, these are our leaders of the future. I don't know whether they made it in or not. If you would, please stand up, be recognized. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Vance Smith for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If they're still here, hope they are, they may be in the Capitol somewhere, I'd like to recognize the Georgia chapter of the American Massage Therapy Association. Appreciate y'all being with us today if you are here. If you meet them in the halls, tell them thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 149. House Resolution 149.
House Resolution.
House will be in order. Members will take their seats. We're about to recognize some very special and distinguished guests. Gentlemen may proceed.
House Resolution 149 by Representative Bruce, the 61st, Shannon, the 84th, Walensky, the 79th, Frazier, the 126th, and Jackson, the 64th, and others. A resolution recognizing and commending John J.T. Johnson and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Bruce for an invite resolution.
Thank you, everyone. I know in the interest of time we're going to be brief this morning, okay? However, we have an individual that I wanted to bring down. Several years ago, I brought people who we called unsung heroes of the civil rights movement. And unfortunately, I didn't know where JT was at the time. But those of you that are old enough to remember, or if you've done your history, in 1964, in St. Augustine, Florida, Dr. Martin Luther King had assigned some individuals to go down to integrate a hotel. And during that procedure, some of those individuals got in the swimming pool at St. Augustine Hotel. And the owner of that hotel then poured acid in that water and burned quite a few of those folks. Mr. Johnson, who is standing here with me, who will come up in a second, was one of those people in the pool. And he was also the person that was directed by Dr. King to have that activity take place. So please join me in celebrating one of the unsung heroes of the civil rights movement, Mr. J.T. Johnson.
To the Speaker of the House and Representative Roger Bruce, I want to just say thank you very kindly. I see my good friend Calvin Spirey out there. But, you know, it's an honor to be here before you legislators who takes very good care of our state. There's one of the things that I would like to come back sometime and share with you guys, because I think that we need to share Atlanta with the rest of Georgia. I think we keep Atlanta too tight and we keep everything here. What about where I come from in Albany, Georgia? Columbus, Georgia, Savannah. I think people from Savannah would like to take a train and come to Atlanta to football game. We need to take that under consideration and do some work on this. How do we go about this state and making it comfortable for everyone to visit this great city of Atlanta? How can I live in Macon and work in Atlanta? We need to think about those things. So I'm going to leave you with that. If we don't share Atlanta with the rest of Georgia, Atlanta's going to fall under. Everywhere you look, there's a condo going up, or several condos, and the infrastructure is not there to sustain that kind of weight. So it's your responsibility to keep this state straight and make it comfortable for all of us to move about it. Thank you very much.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 150.
House Resolution 150 by Representative Bruce of the 61st, Alexander the 66th, Walensky the 79th, Shannon of the 84th, Frazier the 126th, and others. A resolution recognizing and commending Nettie Washington Douglas and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Bruce for an invite resolution.
Thank you again. Another moment in history. How many of you sit around your table at home with your elders and talk about the history of your family and find that to be very interesting. Well, today we have, that's you? You're waving? Okay. Well, today we have an individual who I would love to sit around her table. Those of you who have heard of Frederick Douglass, her dad is Frederick Douglass III. Those of you that have heard of Booker T. Washington, her great-great-grandfather is Booker T. Washington. That is a lot of history around one dinner table. And in her own right, she's an author, she's a lecturer, and I wanted to share her with you, members of this General Assembly, as a token of history. You know, we can't recognize her elders, her ancestors, but we sure can recognize her on their behalf. So with that, please help me in welcoming Miss Nettie Washington Douglass.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Representative Bruce. I am honored to be here today, and I was told from the beginning, be brief, and that's hard for me to do, but I did want to share with you that on February the 14th, we concluded Frederick Douglass's bicentennial. He actually was 201 on February the 14th. And I would just like to share with you what we, the descendants, are doing for the legacy of both Booker T. Washington and Frederick Douglass. We formed the Frederick Douglass Family Initiatives, and it was conceived from a 2003 National Geographic magazine cover story called 21st Century Slaves. Using the legacies of Douglass and my great-grandfather Booker T. Washington to guide us, we decided to focus on abolition through education. Our main work centers around the issue of human trafficking prevention and a program called PROTECT. PROTECT is an acronym for Prevention Organized to Educate Children on Trafficking. PROTECT is the largest human trafficking prevention education initiative ever undertaken. Last year, we, the family, to celebrate the bicentennial, published the special edition of the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, which was his first autobiography that he wrote in 1845. It became a bestseller. So we have the bicentennial edition, and we had the book launch at the Library of Congress, which has named the narrative one of the 88 books that shaped America. So our goal, our initiative is called 1 Million Abolitionist Project, and our goal is to get 1 million copies of the book into the hands of 1 million students. The bicentennial celebration is over, but we're not going to stop with the books until all 1 million have been distributed. And then I'll just briefly mention some of the things that Frederick Douglass, born a slave, what he was able to accomplish as Frederick Douglass. He was one who taught other enslaved people to read at great risk to himself. He persuaded both the American public and Abraham Lincoln that we are all equal and deserving of the right to live free. He supported the rights of women at a time when few men of such importance endeavored to do so. I would like to end, and this is a personal ending for me. I learned, having moved to Georgia, I've been here for 28 years, that there is a little known and or ignored Georgia fact I would like to share. On October the 17th of 1870, a bill passed creating Douglas County, originally spelled with 2 S's, and it was to honor Frederick Douglass. I personally would like to see some recognition of that, perhaps a plaque on a Douglas County bill at some point. And lastly, I'm asking you all to check your pockets, check your change to see if you have any Frederick Douglass quarters. They came out, they were put into distribution, I believe it was April of 2017. And with that, I thank you, and thank you again for this wonderful honor to end my personal celebration for the bicentennial. Thank you very, very much.
Representative Bruce tells me that Ms. Douglas will be in the ante room for pictures. Okay, and Mr. Johnson also. We had one more group, but they are not here, so we are going on to the rules calendar. We are going on to the rules calendar. The clerk will read the caption to House Bill 158.
House Bill 158 by Representative Silcox, the 52nd Cooper, the 43rd, Schofield, the 60th, Newton of the 123rd, Fryer, the 118th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 4, Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to medical assistance generally, so as to provide that Medicaid recipients have the same access to regimens used to treat HIV and AIDS as those included in the formulary established for the Georgia AIDS Drug Assistance Program. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services, the committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Silcox to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today, ladies and gentlemen of the House, to present to you House Bill 158. Georgia is #1 in the nation for the number of HIV cases per year. In 2016 alone, there were approximately 35,402 people living in the metro area with HIV, and there were 1,513 new diagnoses of AIDS. There are currently approximately 3,500 to 4,500 people on Medicaid with HIV in Georgia. This law is desperately needed because eligibility for the Georgia AIDS Drug Assistance Program is not the same as Medicaid with respect to HIV medications. The key to management of HIV is compliance, because unless a patient takes their medications every single day, they are not sufficiently virally suppressed. That is why a single tablet regimen, which is specified in this bill, is so important. The results have showed overwhelmingly in all the trials that a single tablet regimen compliance is much, much higher in that case. Each new patient cost Medicaid approximately $338,000, but this is far, far less than the $1.79 million for a patient that is not virally suppressed. This bill will allow physicians to get patients into treatment quickly on the most effective drug regimen available. This bill is not only the humane thing to do, but it is fiscally responsible. I would greatly appreciate your favorable consideration. If there are no questions, Mr.
You
Speaker.
do not appear to have any questions.
I will yield the well. Thank you.
Lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 158 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 158. The ayes are 169, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 192.
House Bill 192 by Representative Powell, the 32nd, Washburn, the 141st, Ridley, the 6th, Bonner, the 72nd, be titled an act to amend Chapter 39A of Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to real estate appraisers so as to change certain provisions relating to real estate management companies. This bill having referred to the Committee on Regulated Industries, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
You still want to get in the well? I didn't tell you to go to the well. I just asked if you still wanted to go to the well. Chair recognizes Chairman Powell to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speakers and ladies and gentlemen of the House. I bring to you today House Bill 192. For all purposes, it's a pretty simple bill. This allows the Georgia Real Estate and Appraisers Board to pass regulations and all to put us in sync with the federal regulations that deal with appraisers doing business as appraising for loans. This was created back in the 1990s. The federal government got involved in setting regulations for appraisers, and Georgia adopted those regulations in the early 90s that deal with the appraisal management companies. And the appraisal management companies are third-party intermediaries between appraisers and the federal government to be sure that they're doing the things that they're supposed to be done by federal requirements. This is the third year that we've attempted to come forward with this, and for the last two sessions, every year that we would come up with a bill, then the feds, as is typical of the federal government, they would change their regulations and things like this. They haven't made any other changes, and this puts Georgia in compliance through the Georgia Real Estate and Appraisers Board with those federal recommendations for the appraisal management companies. Alternative, if we don't pass this, is that these appraisers, Georgia licensed appraisers, would then have to deal directly with the federal government if they're making any appraisals. And that being said, I will stand for any questions, and if not, I would certainly appreciate your favorable consideration.
What purpose does Representative Dreyer rise?
Does the chairman yield?
I'll be glad to, yes, sir.
Thank you, and thanks for bringing this. I've had to deal with the FIREA federal regulations, which are a morass, and it's not something that the state of Georgia would have ever written. But I just had one particular question. There's some lines dealing with the size that these companies have to be. Does this in any way prejudice smaller appraisal companies or independent appraisers in any way?
I would have no idea whether it's prejudicial or not. These are the federal rules and regulations, and that puts us into the compliance.
Okay, well, lines, does the gentleman further yield?
Certainly.
Lines 37 through 40 require to meet the definitions, these be 15 people or more. I would just concern that that might preclude some smaller companies from operating under that, but I don't know how all these regulations work together. Do you have any idea?
You know, I listened to thunder hitting when I stood to the well, and if you can explain to me how the federal government comes up with their rules and regulations, and I can tell you what the effect of what causes that thunder.
That's fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You do not appear to have any further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen, I'd appreciate your favorable consideration.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 192 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. For what purpose does Chairman Dempsey rise?
I rise to ask to be excused from this vote pursuant to House Rule 133.
Lady has that right, and the journal will so reflect. All those voting for the bill will vote green. Those voting in opposition will vote red. Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 163. The ayes are 163, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to a group of, what purpose does Chairman Taylor rise?
To make a motion.
What's your motion?
That the rules be suspended for two bills to be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
First on you. What are they? Clerk will read the caption.
Unnumbered House Bill by Representative Taylor of the 173rd, Smith, the 134th, Blackman, the 146th, and others to be titled an act to amend Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance so as to enact the Corporate Governance Annual Disclosure Act. That's just one. And unnumbered House Bill by Representative Taylor of the 173rd, Smith, the 134th, Blackman, the 146th, Lumsden of the 12th, Williams, the 148th, to be titled an act to amend Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance so as to provide for the division of domestic insurer into two or more resulting domestic insurers.
On the lady's motion that those two unnumbered House bills, that the rules of the House be temporarily suspended to allow those bills to be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered, and they are both assigned to the Insurance Committee. What purpose does Chairman Taylor rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I never hear that, so thank you very much. We'll read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions. The clerk will read.
Recognizing and commending Dominic Macias. Recognizing March 28, 2019 as National Guard Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing February 26, 2019 as Georgia Election Officials and Registrars Day at the State Capitol, honoring the life and memory of Michael D. Davis. Recognizing and commending Timothy J. Webb, Jr. for his dedicated advocacy for HIV/AIDS awareness and education. Recognizing and commending J. Frank, Mr. Peanut Man McGill on his outstanding public service. Commending and congratulating Annie Jorgensen, Miss Georgia 2018, expressing support for employees of the University System of Georgia. Congratulating and commending George Walton Academy, and recognizing March 29, 2019 as George Walton Academy Founders Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing and commending Ashley Clegg for receiving an appointment to the United States Military Academy at West Point. Recognizing February 21st, 2019 as Alpha Phi Alpha Day at the State Capitol. Commending Inca Cola USA. Honoring the life and memory of Donald Don J. Carter. Commending Michelle B. Dennis for her leadership and success in the fields of communication, branding, and fundraising. Recognizing and commending the contributions of Inspiration Atlanta in celebrating the Lunar New Year. Recognizing February 19, 2019 as American Massage Therapy Association Georgia Chapter Day at the State Capitol. Commending and congratulating Caleb Luke Eason. Commending the Bainbridge Bearcats football team for winning the 2018 GHSA 5A State Football Championship. Commending and congratulating Colin Dupree Grimsley. Commending and congratulating Vincent Allen Yockley. Honoring the life and memory of Jack Thomas Brinkley. commending and recognizing the Atlanta alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. Recognizing and commending Reverend Earl H. Eiffel on the occasion of his retirement. Recognizing and commending Pastor Eric Sudeth and Melanie Sudeth on the occasion of their 15th pastoral anniversary at Emmanuel Community Church. Commending Master Sergeant Sparkle K. Adams for her outstanding service with the American Armed Forces. Recognizing, commending, and congratulating Beverly McAfee. Recognizing, commending Jerry Barr upon her retirement after 35 years as Chief Executive Officer of the Center for Family Resources. Recognizing, commending Detective Lisa Wells on the grand occasion of her retirement. Recognizing February 21st, 2019 as an Emergency Medical Services Recognition Day at the State Capitol, and commending the emergency medical services professionals of Georgia. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. Before we go on to announcements, I want you to help me wish a happy birthday today to the chairman of the Industry and Labor Committee, Chairman Bill Werkheiser. If you have signed up for an announcement, be making your way to the front of the chamber. Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Pam Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to let the Women Caucus, we will be having a meeting in room 514 upon adjournment, and we will be serving lunch. Thank you. Looking for all of you to participate.
Chair recognizes Chairman Corbett for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, on behalf of the Georgia Forestry Association, I would like to invite everybody to come down to the depot this afternoon, the Blue Room, from 5 to 7 for the legislative reception. And I couldn't pass this up. And Chad Nimmer last year, when he was up here announcing this, he said, if you got clean water, clean air, and soft toilet paper, thank a forester.
Mr. Chairman, there's a rumor going around that a former member named Nimmer is going to be there. Is that true? Okay. Chair recognizes the chairman of the Majority Caucus, Chairman Hatchett, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Majority Caucus, we have a meeting today that will begin upon adjournment, room 403. Upon adjournment, room 403. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Dempsey, Chairman Lumsden, and Representative Scoggins.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. On your desk, you'll find a little blue bag. This is the day that many of you look forward to because included in that bag, we have products from Rome, Georgia. Yesterday was Rome Day here. Fortunately, none of you were here, but we were able to host the delegation and had a great day here anyway. But they brought their gifts that we normally bring every year, your gloves and some other products that are manufactured locally there in Rome, Georgia. We just want to say thank you, for recognize them, and thank you for having them. So have a great day. Enjoy.
Chair recognizes for an announcement the Chair of the House Insurance Committee, Chairman Richard Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Insurance Committee will meet tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in room 606 CLOB.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Jeff Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The full committee of the Energy, Utility, and Telecommunication, the Ute Committee, it's Ute, is meeting today in CAP 403 at 3 o'clock. Please attend. That's the Ute Committee. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Steve Tarvin.
Insurance Subcommittee on Property and Casualty will meet today in CLOB 515. Your email says 1 o'clock, but we're having it at 1:30. 1:30, CLOB 515.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Patty Bentley.
Hello, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I proudly stand before you this afternoon to announce that when I got to Macon, Georgia to visit with my husband on Friday, he informed me that his therapist group stood him up twice last week and he was able to hold on to his walker. So I was really proud of that, really proud of that. And I just wanted to share that, Mr. Speaker, because Representative Andy Welch, pastor of the day, said prayer changes things. So please, colleagues, keep praying for my husband. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement the Chairman of the State Properties Commission, Chairman Green.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Georgia Chemistry Council is having their affair tonight at the Georgia Freight Depot, 5 o'clock to 7, and they want all of you to be present. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Chairman Ed Reinders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For all members of the House and the public as well, the Subcommittee on Elections will have an overflow room set up in 506 of the LOB. If you're interested in watching what's going on as it relates to the voting equipment, we will have it live streamed, room 506, for all members and the public. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 3 o'clock.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Bert Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Reeves Subcommittee of Judiciary Non-Civil will meet at 2 o'clock today in room 132 in the Capitol, and I do not see Chairman Setzler, but the Setzler Subcommittee of Judy Non-Civil will meet at 3 o'clock at 132. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Josh Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow morning, 7:15, room 107, is our legislative fellowship. Would love to see you there. It's open to all the House and Senate members. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for an announcement Representative Matt Dubnik.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Juvenile Justice Committee will meet at 2 p.m. today in CLLB 406.
Chair recognizes Chairman Robert Dickey for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, in CLOB 506, the House Appropriations Education Committee is having a public and hearings. If any of you have noticed, the governor's recommendation left out a few teachers for the raise, so we are having that hearing tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes the Chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, Chairman Cooper, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Health and Human Services will meet today at 2 o'clock in our usual room 606 LOB. We'll see you there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Rick Williams for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Alcohol and Tobacco Subcommittee that was going to be meeting upon adjournment of the House session, since our Majority Caucus is meeting, we will meet immediately after the Majority Caucus meeting finishes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Timothy Barr for an announcement.
Thank you, sir. This is for the Natural Resources Subcommittee of Resource Management tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, 403. And it'll be House Bill 220. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Alan Powell for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, for any of y'all who had concerns after last year's elections and a lot of the accusations made and all such as that, and then you've got the situation, we've got 18-year-old voting machines. Today we'll start the hearing process in the Election Subcommittee of Governmental Affairs. 3 o'clock and 406. There'll be overflow room that'll be live streaming in 506. For the benefit of the process, we welcome all members to be there, but they will not be allowed, if they're not on the subcommittee, to interject with questions. Now, if they want to go up and testify, they're more than glad to. It's the intentions of this chair, as it is with all things that I've done up here, that everybody has got a right to be heard. Everybody will be heard, whether we finish it today or tomorrow or the next day. But they will be heard. There will be order kept. And the only time it might get a little bit dicey, I might have to call some down if it starts getting if the redundancy factor kicks up. But let me tell you something, this is very important for anybody that wants to learn the process, that needs to look at these voting machines. But I would encourage any and all folks to either, if you can't be there, then tune in. Thank you.
That completes our announcements. The chair recognizes the majority leader of the House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand in recess until 4 p.m. today, and then stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Wednesday, February the 20th, 2019.
The majority leader has moved that this House be in recess until 4 o'clock p.m. this afternoon, whereupon we would stand adjourned until Wednesday, February 20 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it, and this House will be in recess until 4 p.m. today, and then be adjourned until Wednesday, February 20 at 10 a.m.